Hello everyone and welcome to the NinjaTrader Ecosystem webinar room. My name is Juanita Archuleta and I work here in the NinjaTrader Denver office. We have a very special event for you today with Zac White and Jeremy Tang of SharkIndicators. I would like to mention that it is important to understand that there are substantial risks in trading commodity futures, contracts, and Forex. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you and will depend on your specific circumstances and financial resources. It is possible to lose all funds deposited with your broker and could even incur losses beyond these amounts. Please inquire at the following link for a full copy or for any questions you have regarding the CFTC risk disclosure. This presentation is presented by NinjaTrader LLC, which is the technology company responsible for supporting and developing the NinjaTrader trading software. Any brokerage-related questions should be sent to the NinjaTrader brokerage themselves using the following phone number or emailing them. With new tools added nearly every day, the ecosystem is home to hundreds of apps and services. You can quickly and easily find the tools and services that you are looking for with a simple keyword search. You'll also find information about upcoming webinars and an on-demand video archive to view event recordings. And if you are also active on social media, we do ask that you follow us on Twitter and Facebook for all things related to NinjaTrader ecosystem if you are looking for a daily update. NinjaTrader is always free for advanced charting, strategy backtesting, and trade simulation. To ensure you're on the latest version of NinjaTrader and pick up the free live data trial, please visit the following link. You can also purchase or lease NinjaTrader using the following link, and if you are just getting started with NinjaTrader, we do offer a free live data trial using the following link. We're very excited for this unique event in which Zac and Jeremy will show us how to create custom trade signals and backtest with them without coding. Thank you again for everyone's attendance, and without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome to the room Zac and Jeremy. Go ahead and take it away.
All right, thanks Juanita. I just want to make sure I'm coming through loud and clear, and hopefully I'm not being distorted here by the mic. Just shoot me a Y in the chat and I'll let me know everything's good. All right, thanks John, Juan, Tom, thank you very much. Okay, all right, the slides just sort of went on me there automatically. Okay, so my name is Jeremy Tang. I'm one of the co-founders of SharkIndicators and the chief architect as well in the room, as you heard, is Zac White, who's our product specialist, who's also a co-founder. And we also have Mike Bandy and Keith Wolf, who will be there to answer some questions. But in terms of the Q&A, we're going to actually run that in a separate webinar after this room is done. And the reason why is because we only have a limited time in this room, so we just thought it'd be better to give you guys be able to answer all your questions for as long as you want. And so we'll go into details when we get there, but just be aware that we are going to actually switch over to a different webinar platform at the end. So as you know, today's topic is about what professional traders are doing that most traders are not. And what I mean by most of us, I mean us on the retail side. And so basically, I want to sort of paint the landscape a little bit here. And it should be no surprise to anyone here, being it's 2019. Machine trading is really something that's overtaking the landscape, especially on the institutional side. But in particular, it's not really hasn't really broken ground much in the retail side, and there's a reason why, and I'll go into that in a bit. And actually, it has a lot to do with why we built BloodHound. And some of you that have never heard of what BloodHound is, I have to sort of give you a little bit of a backstory before I kind of get into it and why we built it and what it can do for you. So I'm going to jump back, let's say 8 years, to my first live trading experience. So if I sort of paint the picture for a moment there, I actually took a gander at being a full-time trader myself, and at this point I had attended a couple classes, and the trading expert had suggested, you know what, if you could follow this 1030 SMA cross system I'm displaying here, you're going to be able to get good results with profit and whatnot. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to try this out. So one day I picked a day. This is like, I was totally green at the time, but put about $1,000 into my trading account, and I can remember this. This is 8 years ago, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember the first signal going on. I put the indicators on the chart. Signal went in. I went in live. First trade, I was stopped out, and within 15 seconds, I was down $200. Within about 15 minutes after the second and third signal, I was down $800. And despite the fact that that day I had decided, I was going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to, no matter what, I am going to stick to this trade system and see it through for the entire day. And I'll tell you, by the time I was at my third trade or fourth trade, the signal came in, and I just could not will myself to press the mouse button again. My hands were clammy. My heart was just pounding out of my chest. It was an experience I've just never felt before, and I've heard, of course, that emotions play a role in trading. Until you really experience it firsthand, you really don't know what it's like. It was crazy, and like I said, it was a long time ago, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. And so kind of with my tail tucked between my legs, I was actually at this time conversing with Zac White, and we had just met, and he said, you know what, I've actually been studying this expert trader in the room, and he's consistently profitable, and maybe we should take a look at what he's doing. And I thought, you know what, Zac, actually, you know what we should do is we should actually emulate what he's doing and build an indicator according to his rules. And if we have that, we're going to be able to just trade live using machine trading. And imagine we just have this machine trader that we can just turn on, and the money will roll in. It soon became apparent, I'm sure as you're guessing, it wasn't quite as simple as that. And this is what we'll learn actually time and time again with studying the expert traders, is they have one thing in common, is that they're never sitting on their laurels. They're constantly evolving their system, and they're constantly adding, tweaking things as the market is changing. In fact, this particular individual had a full-time programmer on staff, and he was constantly adding and changing the system as well. And that led me to think, you know what, we are kind of going about this the wrong way. What we need to be building is not some sort of static indicator that will just follow his set rules, because they're always changing. It's not going to work. And instead, what I need to do is I need to build a system that I can change on the fly and configure on the fly. And so this is what I'm going to get at here: the notion of a difference between two types of indicators. Okay, generally, what's out there right now, you buy, say, a trade system off the shelf. What you're actually buying is what we call a static system, something that cannot be changed. I mean, sure, there might be some sort of parameters you might be able to adjust here and there, but by and large, you cannot change the fundamental characteristics of the trade system that you bought. It is the way it's coded is the way it is. What our approach is, on the other hand, is completely different. We have built what I'd like to call a malleable indicator, something that can be configured on the fly to customize trade signals to your liking, and it is not tied to any particular style of trading whatsoever or any particular trade system. And therefore, with this kind of software, you're able to actually create your own trade system, because our belief is that trade systems are constantly changing, evolving, and not only that, there's no such thing as a trade system that is one size fits all. Every trade system is personal, because what may work for trader A may not work for you, because trader A may have just a different risk profile that they're more comfortable with, and maybe you're not. And if you can't trade the system like that other trader can, you're not going to be able to trade it successfully. Furthermore, the market's always evolving and changing. So having sort of one style of system or one particular system and only one way of trading is rather restrictive. And in fact, as I alluded to earlier about what pros are actually doing that, say, amateurs are not, it's not the trade system per se that they're trading. It's the process. Okay? Professionals have a process that they're constantly iterating. They're constantly trading. They're constantly creating new ideas, testing them out, and they're evolving their trade system over time. They're never static. And that's very apparent. That's why a lot of these professionals have full-time programming staff on hand. It's because they go through this process. And really, the only way to actually trust your trade system and be able, and if you can't really trade it unless you trust it, because if you don't trust it, you're not going to trade the way it's meant to be traded. Is you have to test it, right? Imagine for a second that you have an aircraft that you're flying in. Like, how much would you trust flying in that aircraft if you knew that engine hadn't been tested the way it has been? Like they stress test those engines like crazy. They throw everything at it, and that's the only way to know that it will survive, or the way to be able to predict its behavior is actually to see it firsthand. And really, when you have a trade system, it should be no different. You should have tested it very thoroughly before you actually trade it. But as you can guess, this is something that most retail traders just did not do. And the reason why is because it's very tedious. It's very, very time consuming. This whole phase that professionals go through, it's just, like, let me describe it for a second. Imagine you've got a chart. You've got your trading rules. You've got them written down. You're going through the chart and you're picking out the actual signals that that are according to your rules. You're doing this manually. There's lots of room for error for one thing. Then you got to follow each trade and try to tabulate, like, which ones made profit, which ones were losses, and then you put that all together. You crunch a bunch of numbers. You figure out if it made some profit in the end. You iterate a little piece, and you got to go through the whole thing again. It's just, in fact, it's so impractical, so difficult to do. You can't really blame people for not doing it. It's like I said, it's just not practical unless you have the funds to hire a full-time programmer to do this kind of stuff. And that's where we come in, right? We want to make this possible for the retail trader. And not only possible, but fun and easy to do. So with BloodHound, this software, what it does is it lets you create and test your own trading system, your own ideas, your own trading rules. Allows you to describe it into the computer, basically, so that it can be tested, back-tested. And once you're able to back-test and you're able to create these systems quickly, you're going to be able to iterate and very quickly narrow down a trading system that's actually going to work for you on a daily basis. And that's the key to consistency. And like I said before, we make it fun. It's actually really neat to use this stuff live when you're trading, when you're building your system. It's only a few mouse clicks to put it together. And actually, what we're going to do right now is I'm going to pass the buck over to Zac here, who's actually just going to demonstrate what it takes to actually build a system from scratch using BloodHound.
Thank you, Jeremy. So guys, just a moment. And I'm just waiting for the video to come on. There we go. All right, good. So I get to, I always like to say I get to have the fun part during the presentation, because I get to use BloodHound and I get to show it, show how BloodHound works for you guys right in front of you. And so in keeping what is a very typical trader's journey, right? So when you first decide, to become a trader, or pretty much anybody decides to become a trader, kind of one of the first questions that comes in their head is, well, I need to find some kind of system or a set of rules, that helps me identify, when's a good time to buy and when's a good time to sell, right? How do I know when to get into the market? And so quite often, with the internet these days, you can just jump on Google and do a search, right? So people are out there basically, searching for trading ideas, trading systems to use. And so what I have here in front of you is one of those, a webinar hosted by Futures.io a while back, and it was presented by Scott Hudson, a programmer, and he was introducing NinjaTrader 8 and programming. But the reason why I brought this up is because it has this idea in it. So if you were searching the internet, you might have come across this Caesar salad trading strategy, right? And it's got a bunch of rules here and stuff here. So this might be part of the typical journey. You're searching the internet and you're finding these trading ideas, and then the second question is, how do I know that this is profitable? How do I know that this is going to make me some money? Right, and that's the $1 million question right there. So I'm going to show you how to take these set of rules and implement them into BloodHound. And right in front of your eyes, we'll be able to do this here. So to kind of shortcut things here, I've summarized basically the entry rules here, and this particular system also has some exit rules as well. Right, there's some exit rules there. And a couple of other, prerequisites for this, was designed for stocks, right? It was designed to buy stocks and then sell them, right? So I have a stock chart up, a daily chart here on which the system was designed for, and we know that most of you in the NinjaTrader ecosystem are going to be futures traders and intraday futures traders. So the reason why I brought this system up is because this is very typical of what you'll find out there, right? Most of the systems were built for daily charts and for stock trading. So that's what's is flooded out there. Most of the ideas are basically daily stock trading systems, right? So you find a system, you're like, okay, well, if I'm a futures intraday trader, how do I figure out whether this system will translate onto a futures instrument, and more specifically intraday trading here? Well, that's what I'm going to walk you through, right? Is this whole process, these set of questions here that traders will inevitably come across in their journey. So I'm going to open up BloodHound here and get this started. And let me just kind of introduce you to my chart, right? So I have 3 rules here. So rule number 1 is denoted by right, the green line here is identifying the lowest close of the last 7 days. The white line, that's our SMA 100 for rule number 2. And then rule number 3 is the blue indicator here. This is the RSI. All right, so those are the 3 components here. Let's see. All right, so with BloodHound open, let's put a file name in here. So I'm going to use this previous file here and just save over it. All right. So with BloodHound, right, you save your systems to a file so that way you can load them up anytime later. So. And next, I'm going to start working on what we call the logic board here. And we're going to create a logic template. And we're going to create the entry signals first from this Caesar salad system here. All right. So let's see here. Rule number 1 is we're comparing, right, the bar close to the lowest close of the last 7 days. So I'm going to grab this comparison solver. And you can even name these things here. So I can call this like rule number 1. All right. So first thing we want to do is we want to grab the closing price of the bar. And then the second thing we want to do is we need to find the lowest close of the last 7 days. And that is what this minimum indicator will do for us. So this NinjaTrader built-in indicator, the min or minimum indicator, will find the minimum close of the last 7 days. So we just need to put 7 in there for the period and click OK, call it good, and we need a displacement there. And again, keeping in mind with the original design of this system, it was designed for just buying stocks and selling. It was not designed to short stocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the short signals there. So we'll build this as it was originally designed. So, and then also I'm going to reverse the long outputs. And right there, right, in just a couple of minutes, we can see basically rule number one. So, rule number one is what we're seeing on the chart right now, right in front of you. So, all right, so let's move on to rule number two. So now we're comparing the closing price to the SMA 100. So let's plug that in there. And again, we'll call this rule number two. And again, we want the closing price, and then we're going to compare it to the SMA 100 period. So I just need to change the period to 100. And there we go. Right, so we can see on the chart now instantly, whenever the close of the bar is above the SMA 100, right, we're getting a long output. And if the close goes below the SMA, we're getting a short output. And so again, since this system was not designed to short stocks, I'm going to get rid of the short outputs. So there we go. So there's just the long outputs only. All right, so two rules done, one more left. So now we're going to analyze the RSI and find when the RSI goes below the 15 threshold level there. So let's grab a little threshold solver, connect that up, and I always like to name my solvers here. So there we go. So this is going to be rule number 3. And we just need to plug in the RSI indicator. And let's find it. There it is. All right. And this is using a 2-period RSI. So we need to go in there and adjust the period down to 2. And also like to point out that if you're using indicators that have multiple plots, such as the RSI, we can see it has 2 plots. Right, the MACD has 3 plots. Well, BloodHound allows you to easily select whatever plot that you want to use. Right, look, nice simple little checkbox there. All right, so that's the RSI set up. Now we need to put those threshold levels in there. So let's put that in there, and then set up the output like so. And there we go. We can see on our chart here. So the RSI is in blue, and that white dashed line, that's the 15 level, right? That's the 15 threshold level. The gray line, that's the 30 level, and that's going to be used for the exit signal there. So we can see on the chart, right, whenever the RSI goes below the white line, which is the 15 level, right, we get an output, from this particular solver. So that's telling us that rule number 2 has been met. And then the next step, basically, the way most systems work is you need, all three rules to be met at the same time, right? So we're going to grab an AND node. And the way I like to think of it is, well, we need to have rule number 1, right? We need to have that met, and we need to have rule number 2, and we need to have rule number 3. There we go. Connect them all up, and we're done. So that is it. So at this point, you can now do the eyeball test, right? So you can clearly see by these green vertical lines that we like to call racing stripes. It was actually kind of nicknamed for us by an old friend, an early user of BloodHound. We didn't know what to call these green and red lines. he nicknamed them racing stripes, and it just kind of stuck. So the green racing stripes here, show you all the entry points for that Caesar salad system. And so you can now just kind of scroll through and just do the quick eyeball test. And so you'll be asking yourself, is this idea worth further investigation? Does this system look like it's worth further investigation, further study? Is it worth more of your time? And so being on the Adobe chart on a daily, it looks pretty good at first glance, right? You keep scrolling through it. You know, it looks pretty good. And, you know, so note that, you know, again, this was designed to find trending stocks there, right, and provide signals during a trend. So, you know, so far, you know, so the majority look pretty good. So, you know, so what's the next step here? Well, the next step would be, you know, if you guys are futures intraday traders, well, the next step would be to take this and change your chart, you know, over to whatever futures contract that you guys like to trade, right? But before we get there, let's finish setting up the exit rules here. Right? And this logic template is going to have the exit signals into it. So rule number 1 here for the exits is looking at the RSI again. So let's grab another threshold solver and connect that up. And let me name this here. So this is exit rule number 1. And again, I'm going to plug the RSI in here. So let's scroll down a little bit. And let's plug in the 2 period. There we go. And the exits are looking for when the RSI goes above the 30 threshold level. Right, so we're going to plug that in there. Actually, I'm going to take a step back here. And I'm going to create short signals to identify the exit, right? Instead of using long signals, I'm going to use short signals here. And I wanted to point out here, for advanced you know, programmers here that might be familiar with this, BloodHound does have fuzzy logic capabilities built into it for those advanced users who want to use it. You know, so note that right, when the RSI here goes below the gray line, which is the 30 level, when it goes below it, you'll see that the output here diminishes, right? The output gets less and less and less. And that is BloodHound's fuzzy logic capability. You know, again, that's for advanced users, you know, if they want to use it. But, you know, I can tell you, you know, from my 7 years of teaching here, most people, the vast majority, just want to use BloodHound in a very simple way. And they just like a nice, clean, digital output, you know, either yes or no. In other words, either the RSI is above the 30 or it's not. And so there we go. Now we have a nice clean output there, right? So that was just to kind of illustrate that, you know, BloodHound that has a lot more features packed into it than you know, what I really have time to show you here. So let's move on. Let me move on to number 2 here, rule number 2. And let's give this a name here. There we go, rule number 2. And this time, we're comparing the close of the bar to the highest close. So down here, the highest close of the last 7 days. So let's go in here. And again, NinjaTrader has included a maximum indicator. So this maximum indicator, right, will find the highest close of the last 7 days for us. So let's put that on. And since I'm designing exit signals, I'm going to turn off the short output and make an adjustment to the short output. I'm sorry, I turned off the long output, excuse me. There, and so if we scroll along here, oh, hold on, we need to set our displacement. There we go. Okay, yeah, so that is rule number 2 for the exits. And again, we just need to grab an AND node and connect those 2 rules together, and that is the complete picture for the exit conditions, right, to get out of the stock. So All right. Well, now that we have both of our entries and our exits built, let me also kind of point out here another feature about BloodHound is, right, those logic templates that I was showing you, right? So we can see from this pull-down menu that I have my entry signals that I can select, or I have my exit signals that I can select, right? And that is, as Jeremy was kind of explaining, customizing a system for yourself, but also, as the markets evolve, and anybody with any experience knows that different instruments have different styles of behavior. For example, the NQ is a lot more volatile than the ES. And then oil trades totally disconnected most of the time from something like the ES or the NQ, or even gold, right? So maybe you're a gold trader, and again, that instrument trades, on its own fundamentals. So each instrument kind of, has its own different behavior. So, so when you're looking for various ideas like this, it's quite often you'll want to tailor it for whatever market you've decided to trade. All right, right. You want to fine tune, that core set of rules to your instrument. And so these logic templates allow you to do that. So what I can do is I can take this entry, this logic here, I can make a copy of it, and I can rename it here, and say rename it for oil. So now when I look at here, right, I have the original entry signals I built, and then I have a copy here, and then I can go in here and I can tweak this for oil. I can go in here and make any adjustments necessary so that this system runs better for the oil market, or whatever oil market or whatever instrument you want to trade, right? Just using oil as an example here. So you can go in there, and so you can create multiple logic templates here, or think of them as multiple systems, each with their own subtle tweak to it, so you can adjust them for maybe really volatile days or really calm days, or you can adjust it for different instruments, right? All markets have different behaviors. They're always kind of evolving and changing here. So there's another, advantage there of BloodHound is the ease of how you can adjust the system. So, all right, so let's keep moving on here. So, all right, so you've got this, idea that was, the Caesar salad system, which was originally designed for stocks. So, the big question here is, does it work on the ES futures contract? So let's switch over to the ES, and then also let me go in and adjust the time frame here. So let's switch from a daily chart to a minute chart. Let's say like a 30-minute chart, and how about if we up this to 100 days? Select that, and so again, you can quickly, right, do the eyeball test. You can just kind of scan through the chart. So as we can see, this doesn't generate any signals during a downtrend. Keep in mind, right, it was originally intended for stock trading. So there we go. So when there's an uptrend, right, there's signals. So again, you can do the eyeball test and ask yourself, well, is it still worth investigating? Right? So let's say, we decide, okay, yes, it does look like it's worth investigating. So let's get some hard numbers now. Right? So to get some actual backtest results, or some hard numbers, right, NinjaTrader has a strategy of performance built into it. So what we can do is we can go into the strategies, and you'll see there's a Shark indicators folder here. And Raven, you'll see there's two strategies. Raven comes free with BloodHound. So Blackbird is another strategy, but that's a more enhanced strategy. It has a lot more in-depth functionality and capabilities. But I'm gonna use Raven in front of you so we can get some initial backtest results here. So putting Raven on the list down here, and so to get Raven up and running, we first need to plug in our BloodHound system, right? So remember that's the file that I saved the BloodHound system to. So there we go. So we're going to load that up. And every strategy needs entry signals, right? So that's what the entry logic template is for. Tell Raven, what are your entry signals? So I just simply called it entry. Now for exits, right, most systems don't actually have exit rules or exit signals. So this is optional. The exits are optional, so you don't have to use it. But this Caesar salad, happens to have exits. So let's select the exit signals there. And there we go. And then next step is, if you wanted to, you could put in a profit target and or put in a stop loss. So, right, the Caesar salad system has its own exit conditions. So I'm going to leave the profit targets blank and just let the exits do its job, right, as the system was intended. But what I'm going to do is, just curious here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in something like a 2.5 ATR stop loss. So that way there's, a hard stop, and, hopefully that'll kind of protect any kind of big down days. As most people might be thinking, it's generally good to have an absolute hard stop loss there to protect yourself. So let's test it with one. And so the next step, I'm just going to enable it. Click OK. And you'll see, right, Raven's little user interface, this little chart trader will appear here. So you can use Raven to do some discretionary trading if you want to. But let's focus on the backtest results here. Also, you'll notice here, all right, I've got 2 bloodhounds on my chart. So if I wanted to, I could have one bloodhound show me the exits, and then I could have the other bloodhound show me the entry signals, if you wanted to. So you can kind of mix and match and use bloodhound in lots of different ways here. So it's interesting that our customers have found lots of various ways to use bloodhound other than just generating trade signals. They've also found ways to use bloodhound to generate kind of like market bias signals, not discrete trade signals, but a market bias, things like that. All right, so we have some backtest results on the chart, so at this point, you could now kind of analyze each one in detail, if you're so inclined to do that. But, most people are most likely just going to jump, straight to the strategy performance, right? 'Cause that's the big $1 million question there, and take a look. And, there's some hard numbers right there. So, and yeah, look, interesting enough, it actually made $1,500 over the last 100 days. So there you go. There's some hard numbers for you. And then kind of expanding upon the iteration process that Jeremy was pointing out. So what we can do, what I want to do next is go back into Raven settings, and you'll notice everything's grayed out, so we need to disable the strategy first. And then what I could do is I'm going to try this without the stop loss, and let's see if that makes any kind of a difference there. So let's re-enable it, and hold on, let's set that to 0. So there we go, 0 stop loss will be no stop loss. So if we remove the stop loss completely, let's see what happens after that and see if it changes the results. All right, that's a part of the discovery process there. So let's go back into the strategy performance, take a look at the historical backtest results, and see here. So, and look, actually, the profit went down a little bit, interesting enough. So actually kind of having that stop loss did actually save a little bit of money, over time. So there you go. So that's kind of a quick summary of the, iteration cycle that Jeremy was talking about. All right, so that basically, everybody, that kind of concludes my part. I need to switch it back over to Jeremy here so he can kind of wrap things up for us.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Yeah, that's, when you notice there, Zach actually put together the system with explanation, in about 10, 15 minutes, and was able to do a quick tweak there and change it up and tabulate some new results within seconds. And you think about it, that's tremendously faster, incredibly faster than say trying to code a system yourself, or God forbid, like actually try to build or manually tabulate the results and go through the process manually. That would have taken much longer. You're going to find once you learn BloodHound that a whole kind of world opens to you, and you're able to do this. And so we've got a lot of resources to help you get there. We have online documentation, hundreds of hours of video, unlimited email support for anybody that's learning, as well as people that are just trying out our software. That's primarily what a lot of our customers use. But what I think a lot of our customers really appreciate is the live workshop, and that's run by Zac. Every week he hops on to basically a live environment, and it's interactive. You can ask questions, and you can have him build systems that are, like, if you have an idea for a system, you could have it build it in front of your eyes, and you can see how it's put together in BloodHound, which is a fantastic resource. And like I said, a lot of our customers really like that. We also have a support forum that's sort of trader to trader, sharing ideas. And lastly, if you kind of need like a VIP sort of training service, like a one-on-one private service, we do offer that as well for $100 an hour, which is, we feel is a very reasonable rate. It's just to sort of cover our costs. And so in summary, BloodHound, again, as you saw, Zac was able to build a complete system, creating automated entry and exit signals on the fly. And when you're able to do that, as you saw, you can take that system and you can now test it and go through that process that we talked about earlier, the process that differentiates professional traders from amateurs. And you could do that without having to code. So really what BloodHound is, it's kind of like having a full-time programmer in your back pocket without having to hire somebody and go through the development process, which can be pretty daunting if you've never done something like that, or maybe you don't have the resources to hire a programmer, because that's wrought with all sorts of pitfalls as well. Having run a company, I know exactly what that is like, and if you've ever done the same thing. So I also just kind of want to touch on, before I sort of present the actual package that we're going to be talking about today, the offering for this webinar, a little bit about the value, kind of where we stand. So if you've been around our ecosystem for a little bit, you sort of realize a lot of these static indicators, the static trading systems that you see out there available in the marketplace, tend to cost a couple $1,000s, right? And yet they also still have the limitations of being what we like to call static. We have a completely different approach, and basically you're going to find with our company, we tend to look at what's out there and we're like, let's just do the opposite, because I think what we got to do is add more value for the customers. And so we actually offer our software at tremendously much lower cost, with the idea that, with the mission that we want to kind of uplift and get this tool out there to as many people as possible. And so consequently, we have thousands of users. We've been doing this for many years now. We're used by professionals and amateurs alike. And so our software, BloodHound, we offer for $7.95, which is significantly less than what's out there. And on top of that, what we're going to do today and just for throughout the Memorial Day weekend is actually offer a bit of a package here. So let me just switch over to my screen if I can, because I want to bring up a web page. So with BloodHound, and I realize the screen is just going to take a few moments to catch up, so I'll just chat while it's loading. Basically, we have what we call these advanced strategy packs that we sell that are basically add-ons to BloodHound. Or I wouldn't say add-ons, but what they are, they're basically pre-built templates, pre-built systems. And we have 3 different groups of them, and in each package, we have multiple systems. And we just basically group them by the style of trading. So for example, we've built a bunch of systems that are great for breakout style trading, a bunch of systems that are great for continuation style trading, and then a bunch of systems that are great for reversal style trading. And each one of these packages itself have between 10 to 12 some odd systems built in with great examples, and a lot of these are kind of well-known systems that have been taken from pretty popular resources out there. And they're great for just like if you're just starting out and learning BloodHound, and nothing's worse than sort of looking at a blank page and trying to come up with something from scratch. Rather, it's a lot easier to just kind of like see something that's already built, see the rules, and see how someone else has built it so you can add on to it. And so actually what we're going to do is we're going to package these three what we call advanced strategy packs together so that you guys can sort of take them and hit the ground running with systems to build. And normally what we do is we sell them for $225 each. So all 3 of these packages, again, there's about 12 some odd systems in each one. And what we're also going to do is throw in a quick start installation service, which is an optional sort of service if you want to take advantage of it. Basically, you jump onto your computer, make sure everything's up and running. It's kind of like a concierge style service that just makes the transition as easy as possible. And also a full year subscription to Stocks and Commodities magazine, which is also chock full of great system ideas, great trading ideas that you can incorporate into your journey when you're building a trade system. And this whole package is kind of designed, again, to give you as many ideas to run with, examples to run with, so that you can hit the ground running and therefore come up with a trade system that works for you, that works personally for you. So normally, if you were to buy all this kind of separately, it would cost $16.60. But what we're doing just for the Memorial Day weekend is we're going to offer it for $7.95, which is basically more savings than the actual BloodHound product itself. So essentially, we're throwing kind of all these extras in for free. And for those of you that already own BloodHound, we are actually going to have something for you as well. On the left-hand side, we are going to offer the 3 strategy packs by themselves if you're already a BloodHound owner for $300 off. And also, we have kind of a middle ground here. If you're not kind of interested in those extras, we're going to discount BloodHound to $5.95, including the quick start service. So that's actually $300 off, and of course the last entry there, which we've already covered. But basically, I just want to impress upon you really quickly. If you followed our pricing and maybe our products for some time, you'll kind of notice something a little bit odd about our strategy, a little bit odd about our pricing, and that's we don't discount it often, right? Like it's pretty common, I guess, in our industry, like the webinar and a discount, and we do webinars too, but we actually, for the most part, will not discount something unless it's sort of a real special occasion. So I'm not kind of like, if you guys have been following us for a while, you'll know this is a fairly rare event. We don't actually discount our products very often. That's because we believe we have tremendous value. But on top of that, I kind of want to just talk about one other thing, the 100% money back guarantee. To my knowledge, I think we're the only ones in our little ecosystem that does this. And the simple reason why is because we've been doing it like this for years. We stand by our product, our quality, and most of all, we want to remove the risk from you guys. Basically, any time or any opportunity that we can to add value to the customers and remove the risk to you guys, we will do that. So I guess I got one more thing to do, and that's to thank all of you guys for attending today. And especially, I do want to thank NinjaTrader. I don't think I did that in the beginning, but I really meant to. It's always an absolute honor to be hosted by NinjaTrader. That's also another thing that we don't get to do very often, so I'm always thankful to be invited. And Juanita and Daniela and the others at NinjaTrader, always grateful to be here. And we certainly wouldn't be where we are without NinjaTrader. So they've supported us through the years, and we're very thankful for that. So basically, if you want to take advantage of the deal, we've got 2 links here to share. So I'm just going to switch back to my monitor here. And I apologize if I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. But when you go to that link, the Memorial Day sale link, okay, I don't know if somebody can put that in there as well. Yeah, http sharkindicators.com/Memorial Day. You'll come up with this page. But what we've got here right now is the Q&A session. So if you recall at the beginning of the presentation, I did say that we're going to run the Q&A in a separate webinar. And the reason why we're doing that is because we only have a limited amount of time in here, and we want to spend as much time as possible with your questions. So I've seen a couple questions in the chat already. Please remember those and hang on to it. Click this link here to join us in the Q&A section. I believe it's also been, you should see a pop-up in the chat, or not in the chat, but in the screen, I guess. There's a link at the top that says zoom.us. That's our Q&A webinar, and we're going to open that right now. So everybody just go ahead and click that, and we're going to answer all the Q&A, like all your questions in there, and we can take our time, you can stay as long as you want. We're also going to run a little bit of a fun contest actually in there, where we're going to give away a bar type for free. So just go ahead and click it. You should actually see what you should see when you click that. When you click that link, you should see kind of a little webinar registration page. That'll take you right in, and we're just going to kind of leave it up there, and I believe Juanita's going to finish off here, and in the meantime, we'll just sort of get the room ready on the other side. So hope to see you there.
Thank you, Jeremy and Zach. I definitely want to give you guys a special thank you for having this presentation and for following this presentation with an extensive Q&A after here in your Zoom room. For those of you who are interested in that Q&A, I have placed the link in the room, as well as there's a screen pop-up with the direct link to the room. And if you are interested in taking advantage of the offer that SharkIndicators is currently offering until the 27th, I've also included that link in the room. Everyone in attendance today, so if you were late or anyone who just had any issues with the room today, there is going to be an email with the recording of this event sent to everybody. So keep an eye out for that email. NinjaTrader Ecosystem is pleased to sponsor these vendor events as a value-added service for our clients. If you do find value in these events, we'll hope that you join them on a regular basis. We would like to remind you the information provided in this was that of SharkIndicators and not of NinjaTraders. All information was for educational purposes and should not be construed as trading advice. Again, we do appreciate the time you spend with us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see everyone in future webinars.